Welcome to the Deep Dive. Ready to explore some healthcare finance today?
Always.
We're looking at the IPO of IKS Health.
Ah, interesting.
They say they want to simplify how the business side of healthcare works.
Right.
We've got their draft red herring prospectus to dig into.
Okay.
And some market analysis, too.
Sounds good.
By the end of this, you'll know how they plan to make money, how strong their numbers are, and if they're a company to watch or avoid.
I'm intrigued already. It seems like they're going beyond just offering software.
Oh.
Yeah, they're aiming to be a full-service partner,
What do you mean?
taking on all those tasks that keep healthcare providers, doctors and hospitals,
Right.
from actually focusing on patient care.
Okay, so let's get specific. IKS Health calls themselves a healthcare provider enablement platform.
Catchy, right?
Kind of buzzwordy, if you ask me.
Maybe a little, but what are they actually doing?
Yeah, what's the reality behind the label?
Well, it boils down to this. They're offering a bunch of services to make things easier for healthcare providers.
Talking revenue cycle management, so
Yeah.
everything from billing to getting paid,
Makes sense.
plus medical coding, virtual scribing.
Virtual scribing?
Yeah, like someone taking notes for the doctor during patient visits, but remotely.
Huh, interesting.
Think of it as like the administrative engine room of healthcare.
So instead of, say, a doctor's office spending all their time chasing down insurance payments,
Exactly.
IKS Health steps in and handles that.
Precisely.
Okay, that makes sense, but who exactly are they going after with this? Every doctor's office needs help with billing, right?
You'd think so, but their focus is on the U.S. market,
Okay.
and they work with everyone.
Everyone.
Well, from those huge academic medical centers all the way down to smaller physician groups.
So big hospitals and small practices.
Yep, and they're not limiting themselves to just hospitals either.
No.
They're also serving outpatient clinics.
So they're casting a wide net.
Yeah, a broad approach, which probably explains why they have such a diverse client list.
Smart. Not putting all their eggs in one basket, so to speak.
Right.
But I did notice something pretty interesting in their prospectus.
Oh.
They're also working with what they call risk-bearing organizations.
Interesting.
Those involved in value-based care.
Ah, yes.
This whole idea of rewarding providers for keeping patients healthy.
It's a pretty big shift in how we think about healthcare, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
is. Instead of just paying for treatments when people get sick,
Right.
the focus is on keeping them well in the first place.
Exactly.
So how does IKS Health fit into that?
Well, they're positioning themselves right at the heart of that change.
Okay.
Their tech platform, it's called IKS Stacks.
IKS Stacks.
Yeah, it helps those organizations, the risk-bearing ones, track patient health,
I see.
find those gaps in care, and move towards a more proactive approach.
Proactive as opposed to...
Reactive, just treating people when they're already sick.
Right, right. So they're essentially enabling this data-driven approach to healthcare. Exactly. Which is essential for value-based care to actually work.
Okay, so it sounds like they're trying to be the brains behind a healthier healthcare system.
In a way, yes.
Pretty ambitious.
It is.
But ambition aside, let's get to the numbers.
Always important.
Those revenue figures, EBIT margins, all that stuff that investors really care about.
The juicy detail.
Exactly. What story are the financials telling us?
Well, their revenue growth is impressive.
Oh.
They jumped 35% from fiscal year 2022 to 2023.
Wow, 35%. That's significant.
It is. And their EBITDA margins, which basically tell us how efficiently they're turning revenue into profit,
Right.
are looking pretty good.
So far, so good, but
There is a but.
I had a feeling. What is it?
They restated their profits for the past couple of years.
A profit restatement.
Mm-hmm.
That always makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, I understand.
What's the explanation? Is this a major red flag?
It's not always a cause for alarm. Sometimes companies, they adjust their accounting methods.
Yeah.
Especially if they're growing fast or making acquisitions.
So what happened here?
It seems like the restatement is due to changes in how they recognize revenue from certain contracts.
Okay, so not necessarily a smoking gun.
Right, but definitely something investors will want to look at closely.
Transparency is key, that's for sure. And speaking of transparency,
Yeah.
what about their debt situation? Are they loading up on loans to fuel this growth?
They do have some debt, yes.
How much?
But it seems manageable at this point. Their debt-to-equity ratio,
Debt-to-equity ratio.
it compares what they owe to what they own,
Right.
is within a reasonable range.
Okay.
And importantly, their cash flow from operations, the cash they generate from their core business,
Right.
is strong.
Meaning,
They can pay their debts and still have money left over to invest in the future.
so financially, It sounds like they're in a decent spot.
So far, yeah.
But what about the IPO itself? How much money are they trying to raise?
They're aiming to raise a pretty hefty sum.
And how are they planning to use those funds?
Well, that's where things get a little interesting.
Oh,
The money isn't actually going to IKS Health directly.
it's not.
No, it's what's called an offer for sale.
An offer for sale
That
means...
means the money goes to existing shareholders who are cashing out.
Ah, so they're selling their shares.
Exactly.
And IKS Health itself doesn't get any of the proceeds.
Nope.
So this isn't about IKS Health needing cash to expand or anything like that.
Not real.
It's more about early investors wanting to take some profits off the table.
You got it. They're betting that IKS Health has enough resources to keep growing without needing this IPO cash infusion.
A bold move.
It is, and it would be interesting to see how it plays out.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about competition. The healthcare landscape is pretty crowded these days.
It is.
Where does IKS Health fit in? Are they a big fish in a small pond, or are they swimming with sharks?
Well, the market for what they do, healthcare provider enablement,
Right?
is definitely getting more competitive.
So more sharks in the water.
You could say that, but IKS Health does have a few advantages.
Like what?
Remember that diverse client base we talked about?
Yeah, big hospitals, small practices.
Exactly. That's a real strength.
How so?
It means they're not too reliant on any single customer.
They've spread their risk.
Yep. And the fact that they offer such a wide range of service.
Right, from billing to coding to virtual scribing.
All of that. It gives them an edge. They're like a one-stop shop for healthcare providers' business needs.
Makes sense. So even with lots of competition, they have a fighting chance.
I'd say so, but there is something to keep in mind.
Oh, what's that?
Even with a diverse client list, they still have what's called customer concentration risk.
Customer concentration risk, meaning
What happens if they lose a few of their bigger clients?
could that really hurt their revenue?
Potentially, yes. And the prospectus does acknowledge that risk.
So what are they doing about it?
Well, they're working to mitigate it by cross-selling,
Cross-sell.
offering additional services to their existing clients,
Okay.
and also by expanding into new areas. They basically want to become so valuable, so indispensable,
Right.
that their clients wouldn't even think of going anywhere else.
Makes sense. And speaking of expansion, it looks like they have their sights set on going global.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely ambitious.
Canada, Australia, even talk of partnering with an AI company for their virtual scribing.
That's right.
It's a pretty aggressive growth strategy, wouldn't you say?
For sure, global expansion is a huge part of their plan.
What are they hoping to achieve with that?
Well, they see a huge untapped market for their services outside the U.S.
Makes sense.
And that AI partnership, it's with a company called Abridge AI Inc.
Abridge AI Inc.
Yeah, they do AI-powered medical transcription. It shows that IKS Health is serious about staying on top of the latest technology in their field.
So they're pushing hard on several fronts.
It seems that way.
But we all know that every investment comes with risks. What are the potential red flags we should be watching out for with IKS Health?
Well, one of the biggest ones is regulation.
Regulation.
Yeah, the healthcare industry is full of regulations.
Absolutely.
And any changes in those laws or how they're enforced could really impact their business.
Give me an example.
Well, there's IP compliance, data privacy laws, and all sorts of other rules they have to navigate.
Right. A whole minefield.
Exactly. And we can't forget about their reliance on the U.S. healthcare market.
True. It's a huge market.
Huge, but also incredibly complex and always changing.
So what kind of risks are we talking about?
Any major shifts in U.S. healthcare policy could throw a wrench in their plans, like how reimbursements work
Yeah.
or insurance regulations.
They are trying to diversify, right?
They are, but it's still a risk that investors need to consider carefully.
So it's like they're sailing in uncharted waters.
In a way, yes.
Incredible opportunities out there,
Definitely.
but also potential storms on the horizon.
That's a good way to put it.
But let's talk about the people at the helm. Who are they? Do they have the experience to navigate these choppy waters?
That's a key question. The leadership team is definitely a factor to consider.
For sure.
In this case, we have a mix of seasoned veterans and, well, what seem to be rising stars.
Tell me about the veterans.
Well, the founder and CEO, Sachin Gupta, has been leading IKS Health since the very beginning, back in 2007.
2007, wow. That's a long time, especially in the world of technology.
It is. It suggests a deep understanding of the industry, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. What's his background? Is he a tech person who found his way into healthcare, or does he have medical roots?
Well, the prospectus highlights his experience in both healthcare and technology.
Okay.
He held leadership positions at companies like GE Healthcare and Siemens Medical Systems before starting IKS Health.
So he's familiar with the ins and outs of the industry.
Very much so.
So he's got the tech savvy and the healthcare knowledge,
A powerful combination.
especially given their ambitious plans for growth.
Exactly. But what about the rest of the team?
Yeah, are they just yes men, or do they bring different perspectives to the table?
From what we see in the prospectus, they've built a pretty impressive team.
Who else stands out?
Well, Joseph Bernardello, the Chief Growth Officer, has a strong background in healthcare operations and technology.
Okay.
He's worked at places like McKesson and Optum.
Big names.
And then there's Nithya Balasubramanian, their Chief Financial Officer.
Right.
She's got tons of experience in financial management and strategic planning.
So it sounds like they've got all the key bases covered.
They seem to, but leadership isn't just about individual expertise, right?
Yeah.
It's also about the culture they create.
Absolutely. Attracting and retaining top talent.
And that's a little harder to assess just from the prospectus.
How so?
They mention things like employee well-being and professional development,
Okay.
but it doesn't really give us a deep dive into their company culture.
It would be interesting to know more about their values, their approach to diversity and inclusion,
Right.
and how they encourage innovation,
Those factors can make or break a company in the long run.
especially in a fast-moving industry like healthcare.
For sure, those softer aspects of a company's DNA can be just as important as their financial numbers.
So anyone out there thinking about IKS Health as an investment, don't just focus on the financials.
Right. Take a good look at the people running the show
Their leadership styles,
and the culture they're building.
all of those things can give you valuable clues about a company's potential for long-term success.
I completely agree. Because in the end, it's the people who will drive their vision forward and deal with those inevitable challenges that come up along the way.
This has been a really interesting look at IKS Health so far.
It has.
You've explored their business model,
Their financials.
their position in the market.
And their leadership team.
But now it's time to shift gears a bit.
Oh,
We want to hear from you, our listener.
what stands out to you?
What parts of this deep dive have really resonated with you?
What questions are still swirling around in your head?
Because remember, this is just the beginning. The draft red herring prospectus, the market analysis reports,
All those resources
they're out there for you to explore in more depth.
to form your own opinion.
And don't be afraid to go beyond those resources either.
Yeah, talk to people in the industry, read some articles,
Do your own digging.
ask critical questions,
Seek out diverse viewpoints.
engage in your own deep dive.
Because ultimately, you have to trust your own instincts.
That's what it's all about. Empowering you with knowledge and helping you become a more active participant in your own learning journey.
Exactly.
So as you continue to think about IKS Health and the future of healthcare,
What are your key takeaways so far?
what will you be thinking about as you do your own research?
What excites you about this company? And what concerns you?
Those are the questions that will help you decide what to do next.
And remember, we'll be here for your next deep dive.
Yeah.
Ready to help you unpack these complex topics and navigate this ever-changing world of knowledge.
Absolutely.
Until next time.
Happy researching. You know, thinking about these broader goals, it's interesting to consider how a company like IKS Health could actually impact the quality of care patients receive.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
We tend to focus on doctors and nurses when we talk about healthcare,
Right.
but there's this whole behind-the-scenes world that really affects the patient experience.
Absolutely. Imagine a small practice struggling with billing and paperwork.
Yeah.
If IKS Health can streamline all that,
Right.
wouldn't that free up the doctors to actually spend more time with their patients?
It's like taking that administrative burden off their shoulders
Exactly.
so they can focus on what really matters, patient care.
And that could have a ripple effect throughout the whole system.
I see what you mean.
It's not just about making things easier for providers.
Right.
It's about creating a system where everyone benefits, patients included.
I'm curious about their global expansion plans. They mentioned Canada and Australia in the prospectus.
Yep.
But they also hinted at exploring emerging markets.
Right.
That's a whole different challenge, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Emerging markets have huge growth potential.
Sure.
But they also come with some unique challenges.
Like what?
Well, you're dealing with different regulations in each country.
Yeah.
Often, healthcare systems are fragmented.
Okay.
And you have to consider the cultural differences, too.
I can imagine.
Ah.
Just trying to explain U.S. medical billing codes in, say, rural India.
Exactly.
That's got to be a tricky conversation.
Adapting their business model to all those different contexts.
Right.
It's a huge undertaking. And then there's the competition.
Ah, yes.
Established players and ambitious startups all wanting a piece of that global healthcare pie.
It's a high-stakes game, for sure. And it sounds like IKS Health is determined to play.
They are. But let's bring it back to the company itself for a moment. We've talked about their financials, their growth plans.
Right.
But what about the people actually running the show? Who's steering this ship?
That's a crucial question. A company is only as good as its leadership.
Couldn't agree more.
So what can you tell us about the leadership at IKS Health?
Well, it looks like we have a mix of seasoned veterans and some rising stars.
Interesting. Tell me about the veterans.
Well, Sachin Gupta, the founder and CEO,
Yeah.
he's been at the helm since the very beginning, back in 2007.
2007. That's a long time, especially in the tech world.
It is. It suggests he's got a deep understanding of the industry.
It does. What's his background? Is he a techie who somehow ended up in healthcare? Or does he have more of a medical background?
The prospectus highlights his experience in both healthcare and technology, actually.
Okay.
He had leadership roles at companies like GE Healthcare and Siemens Medical Systems.
So he's no stranger to the complexities of the industry.
Not all.
So he's got the tech savvy and the healthcare knowledge,
A great combination.
especially with their ambitious plans.
Hmm.
But what about the rest of the leadership team? Are they all just yes men?
Well, that's a good question.
Or do they bring different viewpoints and experiences to the table?
It looks like they've put together a pretty strong team from what we can see in the prospectus.
Okay. Who else stands out to you?
Well, there's Joseph Benardello, their chief growth officer.
Uh-huh.
He's got a background in healthcare operations and technology.
Makes sense.
He's worked at companies like McKesson and Optum.
big names in the industry.
Right. And then there's Nithya Balasubramanian, the chief financial officer. She's got a ton of experience in financial management and strategic planning.
So it sounds like they've got all the key areas covered.
It seems that way.
But leadership isn't just about individual expertise, right?
No, it's not.
It's also about the culture they build within the company.
Exactly. Attracting and keeping top talent.
And that's a little harder to gauge just from reading the prospectus.
It is. They mention things like employee well-being and professional development.
Right.
But we don't get a real in-depth look at their company culture.
It would be interesting to know more about their values,
Absolutely.
their approach to diversity and inclusion,
For sure.
and how they encourage innovation.
Yeah.
Because those factors can really make or break a company in the long run.
Especially in a fast-paced industry like healthcare.
Exactly.
Those softer aspects of a company, their DNA,
Right.
those can be just as important as their financials.
So for anyone out there thinking about investing in IKS Health,
Yeah.
don't just focus on the numbers.
Right. Look at the people behind those numbers
Their leadership styles.
and the kind of culture they're creating.
All of that can give you valuable insights into whether a company can really succeed over the long term.
Absolutely, because ultimately it's the people who will drive the company's vision forward
Right.
and deal with the challenges that inevitably come up.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive into IKS Health.
It has.
We've explored their business model, their financials, their place in the market.
Their leadership team.
But now we want to turn the focus back to you, our listener.
What are your thoughts?
What aspects of this deep dive have really resonated with you?
What questions are you still thinking about?
Because this is just the starting point. The draft red herring prospectus, the market analysis reports,
Right.
all of those are valuable resources for you to explore further.
To form your own opinion.
And don't be afraid to go beyond those resources.
Exactly. Talk to people working in healthcare. Read some industry articles.
Do your own research.
Ask those tough questions.
Seek out different viewpoints.
Engage in your own deep dive.
Because in the end, you have to trust your gut.
That's what it's all about, empowering you with knowledge and helping you become a more active participant in your own learning journey.
Exactly.
So as you continue to think about IKS Health
Yeah.
and the future of healthcare in general,
What are your key takeaways from this conversation?
what will you be pondering as you do your own research?
What excites you about this company? And what concerns you?
Those are the questions that'll help guide your next steps.
And remember, we'll be back for your next deep dive.
Ready to help you unpack more complex topics.
And navigate this ever-changing world of knowledge.
Absolutely.
You know, as we've been talking about IKS Health, I keep thinking about the bigger picture of healthcare. It's an industry that's, well, It's ripe for disruption, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. The traditional model. It's facing so many challenges these days.
Like what?
Rising costs, administrative burdens,
Yeah,
fragmented care, not enough focus on prevention. It's a lot.
exactly. And it seems like IKS Health is trying to position themselves, well, right at the forefront of this change.
They are. But the question is,
Can they really deliver on all their promises?
that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. It's a complex question, too. No easy answers. But I think, well, one of the keys to their success might be their understanding of the forces that are reshaping the industry,
That's a good point. They seem to get it.
like the shift towards value-based care, which we touched on earlier,
Exactly. That's a big one.
the old fee-for-service model.
Right, where providers get paid for every procedure, every visit.
Yeah, yet it's slowly being replaced by a system that rewards providers for keeping patients healthy.
And preventing unnecessary care.
It's a fundamental change in how we think about healthcare, isn't it?
It really is.
And IKS Health seems to be betting big on it.
They are. And their technology platform, IKS Stacks.
Right, IKS Stacks.
It's designed to support that transition, helping organizations track patient data,
Okay.
identify risks, and coordinate care more effectively.
It's that data-driven approach.
Exactly. That's essential for value-based care to actually work.
But it's not just about technology, is it?
No, it's not. It's also about changing mindsets
Right.
and fostering collaboration.
Across the whole healthcare ecosystem.
Exactly. And that's where IKS Health's focus on partnerships really comes in.
Partnerships with providers.
Yep. They're not just selling software. They're offering a whole package of services and support.
To help organizations make this transition.
Right, to help them navigate all the complexity.
It's like they want to be a trusted advisor.
That's a good way to put it.
Not just streamlining processes, but actually helping providers deliver better care.
That's the goal.
Ambitious, to say the least.
It is. But it's also exciting to see companies like IKS Health pushing the boundaries.
Challenging the status quo.
Yeah.
In such a vital industry.
I agree. And whether or not they achieve every single goal they've set,
Right.
they're making the industry face its challenges head on, explore new possibilities.
And that's a good thing, right?
Definitely. Because at the end of the day, the real winners in this whole healthcare revolution, they'll be the patients.
The ones who benefit from more efficient care, more
Right.
effective care, more affordable care.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive into IKS Health,
Yeah.
I hope you're walking away with a better understanding of their business, their strategy, the forces shaping their industry,
But more importantly, I hope we've sparked your curiosity.
inspired you to keep learning.
So as you think about the potential of IKS Health,
And the future of healthcare in general.
keep asking questions, keep searching for knowledge, keep pushing those boundaries of your own understanding.
Because that's what the deep dive is all about.
Thanks for joining us.